All right, winners and losers. Heath, your winners are Russell Wilson, 30 fantasy points, Devin Singletary, and Breece Hall, who you already talked about. But tell me about Devin Singletary, who was only started in 30% of leagues, and Russell Wilson started in 62% of leagues.
The Bills sent a lot of signals that they wanted to throw the ball to their running backs more this offseason. They tried to go get J.D. McKissick and failed. They drafted James Cook. They kept Zach Moss, and mostly because Devin Singletary had been one of the worst pass-catching running backs in NFL history over the last 3 years. But he always ran a lot of routes. And early in the season, they tried throwing to Moss. They tried to get Cook involved. The last 2 weeks, it's just been the Devin Singletary show. And that might change again. That's kind of been the Bills' MO. But for now, I feel pretty comfortable starting Devin Singletary in Week 5 against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And how about Russell Wilson? You feel like he's Russell? He looked pretty good today, didn't he?
This was also a roller coaster one because I sent this in the second quarter after he threw his second touchdown, I think. And then he went through a stretch of a quarter of play where I think they gained 20 yards. And then he threw a long pass and ran it in from the 2-yard line, and so everything was good again.
He looked mobile, though. I know you were concerned about his mobility. He's moving. He seems to be moving well the last couple of weeks.
He had 24 yards on the ground today, so 29, including a touchdown. One of my believe it or not was that he's
wait. Don't scoff at that. That's good.
Yeah, one of the believe it or nots I had was that he's back as a must-start quarterback.
Yeah, you believe that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he's must start, but I think he's top 12 for sure.
Okay. And Breece Hall, another nice game for him and seems to be really grabbing the reins of that job. Dave's winners are J.K. Dobbins. He scored 2 touchdowns. He had 4 catches. Adam Thielen, 72 yards at New Orleans or in London. On 9 targets, and George Pickens, who you briefly discussed, but J.K. Dobbins, Adam Thielen, and George Pickens, Dave.
I wanted Josh Jacobs instead of George Pickens. I'm glad you look at your text. Thank you about that, Adam. But it's okay. You know what? What's wrong with having 4 winners?
Well, Josh Jacobs is on the graphic. Thomas got your message.
Yeah, Thomas is cool. Adam's only good for lopsided trades in your favor. So thank you for that, Adam. Just a real quick point on Breece Hall. 12 of 16 snaps on 3rd and 4th downs, all 5 of the snaps inside the 10. And he played 2/3 of the snaps. He's arrived. So feel good about Breece.
So everybody. That doesn't count plays that were called back because of penalty, right?
Right.
I think Michael Carter had a 1-yard rush touchdown that was then called back because of a pre-snap penalty.
That sucks for him.
I don't remember them, but take your word for that.
Dobbins played 7 of 9 snaps inside the 10 for Baltimore. He had 5 touches and 2 touchdowns. That's pretty good. Looks like he's back. Maybe not all the way, but he's on the right track. And I feel good about him. Good matchups coming up. He's got the Giants in his future. I think we can say the Browns are a favorable matchup. And before he plays them at Cincinnati should be a pretty decent matchup for him. So I'm happy with Dobbins. I'm really happy with Adam Thielen. He's racking up the targets now. It's 3 straight games with at least 7 and 8 for 72 against the Saints. He's going to have that chemistry with Kirk Cousins in the red zone again. And I love what I'm seeing from him. He did get a little messed up late in the game. He looks like he played through an ankle injury. My hope is that he's fine. So Thielen, look for him. He's going to be good as at least a flex play moving forward. Jacobs, 2 straight weeks with lots and lots of numbers, especially through the air. You love to see that. He dominated playing time for the Raiders. He ran well earlier this year. He just wasn't getting a ton of opportunities. Now he's getting those valuable opportunities that we're looking for. And I talked about Pickens and how he had a lot of numbers in the second half with Kenny Pickett in the game against the Jets. Maybe that was the Jets a little bit, but still, 8 targets, 6 catches, 102 yards. Best game for any Steelers receiver today. It's a positive.
Mm-hmm. Would you guys rather have Josh Jacobs or Breece Hall rest of season?
I think Hall's more fun.
I'd probably say Jacobs.
Would you rather have Josh Jacobs or A.J. Dillon?
Jacobs for sure.
Yes.
Miles Sanders.
I almost wanted to say they feel like the same guy, but Jacobs has been getting those targets.
Jacobs.
I think I'd say Jacobs as well.
Josh Jacobs or Najee Harris.
Oh.
Ooh. Has he fallen that far? He might have. I hate that schedule for Pittsburgh.
Well, I think part of it's Josh Jacobs has risen that much as well.
Sure.
Like
Yeah,
they've crossed paths going opposite directions.
Josh Jacobs
Yeah, I
has.
bet if you've enjoyed Josh Jacobs for the last couple of weeks, I don't think you'd want to turn him into Najee.
He has 81 or more total yards in 3 straight games. That's really good.
It's good. Yeah.
That's
No,
I
I
mean,
mean the winning factor is that he's getting targets. He's scored this week a bunch of times. He's getting used like a true number one.
all right, time for losers. Dave's losers are Antonio Gibson, who had 63 total yards at Dallas, and Brian Robinson awaits. James Conner, who had his best game in terms of total yards, 77 total yards, his first game with more than 57, but it's just a struggle for James Conner. And
Yeah,
Dalton Schultz, who we already talked about. So, Dave, let's talk about Gibson and James Conner. What do you think about them rest of the season?
I would try and Gibson try and sell low because once Robinson comes back, and I think they started phasing him out today. We saw Jonathan Williams get carries, and guess what? Jonathan Williams did better with his carries than Gibson did. And I also thought that J.D. McKissic was getting more carries in the first half. So they might phase out Gibson entirely when Brian Robinson is ready to join the team. I'm not saying he's going to be ready to go week 5. I'm not sure if the Commanders know if he'll be ready to go week 5. And even if he is ready to go in week 5, the offensive line is not doing a great job. So I'm nervous about just how good Brian Robinson will be. But once he does get his legs under him and he starts to understand what the speed of the NFL game is like and all that stuff, Gibson might get you he might be inactive. I don't see him being very helpful for fantasy managers by the time we get to, say, Halloween. Conner just looks terrible. This is an offense that's going to live and die with Kyler Murray every single week. Conner doesn't do enough in the passing game. I've got him on a couple of teams. I'm going to try and move him while I can. Oh, they play the Eagles next week. So nice, easy matchup for James Conner next week. Forget about it. Saints 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, they do have Seattle twice in the next 5 games. Seattle might be that great. I mean, Seattle and Detroit, honestly, are the 2 opponents right now that I look for running backs. Just really.
Does he play Detroit 2 times?
No, we played Seattle 2 times. So
right. Well, I mean, if he had a consistent rotation of Seahawks and Lions in his schedule, then I'd feel a lot better about James Conner.
It really doesn't matter. It's not like he's going to tear it up. It's just, has he fallen behind Josh Jacobs and Miles Sanders?
Yeah, I think so.
How about Najee Harris or James Conner?
Najee.
Yeah, he's the less crappy of the 2.
Not more like nausea. Nausea. Heath's losers are Amari Cooper, Kyle Pitts, and Terry McLaurin. Anything else you want to say about Cooper or Pitts?
I just think Cooper's that boom bust number 3 wide receiver, and it's really hard. It's what Tyler Lockett was to a lot of people for many years, and you're probably just going to start him because he's going to have some good weeks. Maybe you wait a couple more weeks, hope a couple go bad, and then try to buy him super cheap because down the stretch with Deshaun Watson, he might be a league winner.
Yeah. Terry McLaurin had started out with 3 decent games, 12.2 to 16.2 PPR fantasy points in each game. Total dud against the Cowboys, 2 catches for 15 yards. And what do you think about McLaurin?
I just don't like the fact. I mean, it's really difficult to call him the number 1 wide receiver for the Commanders. This was like his targets for the year: 4 in week 1, 8 in week 2, 9 in week 3, 6 in this game. So we expect seven targets a game going forward.
Maybe, and that wouldn't. He's got 27 through 4 weeks. You'd like him to see more than that. Samuel's got 10 more than he does.
What about the Jahan Dotson injury? Does that
Jahan Dotson's barely being targeted, just in the valuable places.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that when they get down to the goal line, Carson Wentz is looking for him and not for Terry McLaurin.
The rest of season, McLaurin or Jerry Jeudy?
I think I go Jeudy.
I think it's Jeudy, but it's close, and it depends on what's up with Dotson's injury.
McLaurin or Gabe Davis, Rashad Bateman?
McLaurin.
Maybe Davis, McLaurin, Bateman. I might do that. Listen, and going back to Brian Robinson, if he gets rolling, this team's not throwing nearly as much, and that would hurt McLaurin too.
I really have a hard time believing, like, unless Brian Robinson is Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor, that a running back is going to have a great impact on how well Washington runs the football. Like, not that Antonio Gibson's perfect by any stretch, but it's just they're not a good running team. They don't have a good setup to be a good running team.
Well, they don't have a good runner, so we don't really know.
Yeah. I think maybe I just think that the talent level of the runner is not the part of the equation that's keeping Washington from being good at running the football.
No, I get where you're coming from on that, but as far as a 2-down runner goes, he looks the part. Or I should say, he looked the part in the preseason, and I know that all the reports from camp were eye opening. The people who cover the Commanders said that he looked really, really good. So there's obviously a huge adjustment that he's going to have to make from being. I don't know if he was exactly a part-time back at Alabama last year or his last year there, but I think he's going to get an opportunity, and that's what everybody's banking on. And if you're getting an opportunity, then at some point you're probably going to do fairly well with the opportunity if you're young and you've got fresh legs. I'm cautiously optimistic. Plus, like, he'd be a great story. This isn't the real reason like why you'd want to use him, but he's going to be a great story when he does have a big game.
I guess so, but it is a lot to ask of somebody who basically he's been off for so long. He's a rookie. It's a lot to ask,
Right.
but it could be more
I
of
think
a detriment to Antonio Gibson than anything else.
Well, that would be the biggest detriment, but also if he does, I preface it. I said if he gets rolling,
Yeah,
and maybe it's win, and he might not get rolling until week 10. We just don't know how quickly he'll get up to speed. There's a chance he doesn't even get made active for week 5.